I'm LeGrand Elliott.
I'm Cindy Ayers Elliott.
And we have a brand new show called Ag and Culture. We'll be discussing all things agriculture.
But more specifically, how it affects farmers and ranchers of color with national and local guests.
And of course, we're talking culture, food, wine, health, politics, education, and so much more.
Join us for informative and fun conversation with guests from all over the country.
It's a fresh new show, Ag and Culture, every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. on the East, and 7 a.m. on the West.
Watch us on our YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms.
And on WeBelieve.global. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday all over this great land. Good morning. Ag and Culture is officially on the air, episode 3.
Good morning.
I'm your host, LeGrand Elliott, and my lovely co-host is
Cindy Ayers Elliott, and good morning to everyone.
So glad to be here. Episode number 3 already.
Can you believe it? It's our number 3.
Wow, number 3. Hard to believe. And of course, Ag and Culture, if this is your first time joining us, thank you so much. All of our Facebook Live viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Our We Believe family and the We Believe Network, if you're watching via their live, good morning. Everything is good?
Yes, it is. And good morning to everyone that's on our Facebook page, which is Footprint Farms. Just good morning to everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to hear us. And we got some great topics today. A great topic that I love.
Very much so. Very much so. And we just want everybody to understand that our show is Ag and Culture. It's everything agriculture and how it relates and how it affects communities of color. Farmers and ranchers in our communities. So yes. We just want to be very clear on that. A lot of good things that's going to come out of this. We've got some outstanding guests lined up for February as we prelude into our favorite month. We celebrate all year, but it's our month and it's Black History Month, and what better way, I think, this morning is to really kick this thing off. So again, our show is very interactive.
Yes.
And we don't want to always hear ourselves talk. We want to give you some great information.
I'd love to hear you talk. I really do.
Flattery gets you everything, young lady. But we want this to be very interactive. So if you're on Instagram, we're at Footprint Farms. If you're Facebooking us, come to us at Footprint Farms as well.
Yes.
That's right. And if you want to go old school, we want to hear from you, 1-800-492-5186. Or you can call us at 601-910-5534 at the farm. Right?
Yes, we can, and we're excited to hear from everyone. But we got some challenges today for our audience.
I like that.
Yes, and we're also going to talk about some of the great giveaways that we're about to do to get ready for coming into our month of February. Though I am a farmer 12 months out of a year, and guess what? I just happen to be Black. You notice?
I mean, just a little bit. Just a little bit. But we also want to make sure that we thank our title sponsor, Heifer International USA.
Yes.
We announced just last week that they were our title sponsor. We're so happy to have them aboard. And if you don't know anything about Heifer, I challenge you to reach out and go to heifer.org. For over 75 years, Heifer International USA have partnered with communities of color and of all races to support local farmers, not only to build, but to sustain and also make a good living in doing it. So thank you so much for Heifer International, and look forward to positive and beautiful things to come. So thanks to our title sponsor.
Absolutely, great partnership. And we know Heifer from international, but it's a big part of USA, and this is the part that we're working with the United States of America.
Absolutely. So today's show, as I say, we're going to prelude into Black History Month, and I think this would be a great jump-off point where we will discuss today about 1890s land-grant colleges and universities. And a lot of times we'll hear the word 1890s being thrown around.
I got a T-shirt that says 1890.
Absolutely. So what we wanted to do is just kind of dive in that for some of us who may not know about 1890s, how it came about, what is a land-grant college. We'll talk about the Morrill Act, both volumes, 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Obviously, there was the one of 1862. And then there was the one that we all know as known as 1890s, which pretty much gave birth to HBCUs as we know it today.
Absolutely. And that's the part that we really want to know. This is the part when we talk about how important it is to know who you are.
Right.
And what better way than to look at and to go and take note. of who we are as it relates to how our education really started and throughout this country, even after slavery, even before.
Absolutely.
What was going on. And we want to talk about that, but we want you to really get informed, but also to go out and look for yourselves. Regardless of what anyone tells you, the best way of your knowledge is to go and verify. So go and look and to learn more about our history.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what we want to get into, is just the history of 1890s. And obviously back then we were going through the Emancipation Proclamation. We were,
and that's going to be a topic all by itself.
Right, and of course during the times being led by President Abraham Lincoln. So just getting a little bit more granular in it, and let's kind of briefly talk about the first act, the Morrill Act, which was 1862. And just to give you some background, and if Cedric, if you could bring up this picture for me in the control room, if you could. You recognize this guy?
He looks very familiar.
That is, well, at the time, it's Congressman Justin Smith Morrill. He was a Republican from Vermont that introduced, and that's why it's called the Morrill Act.
Yes.
Both 1862 and 1890. He was an abolitionist. He was considered one of the founders of the Republican Party, believe it or not. Just fascinating information. I didn't know a whole lot about him, but actually going back and looking, that he did play a real pivotal part in getting us to where 1890s are today.
Well, and again, when you look at what was going on, with the North and the South during that time, a lot of the abolitionaries or the ones were not from the South, more
Right.
of the southern pieces. So they were from the East Coast and the D.C. area. In this case,
Right.
we're dealing with Vermont.
Vermont. Shouts out to Brother Bernie Stannis. What's up, Bernie? But seriously though, in 1862, obviously Congress passed to where federal lands were given, and that each state would basically at least receive that land and be able to put one university there that solely was looking at agriculture and mechanical engineering for all practical purposes, for the one in 1862.
Well, when you look at 1862, of course, you look at what was happening in America. It was all about building, and the land was a big part because we had to still then and now feed ourselves. So they were looking at to put things in place to continue the new way of how we can better take care of the land, what we can do. And it was all about nature. It was all about taking care of the earth, even during that time.
He's had some profound things. One of them was he wanted to have access to all under this 1862 one. And he said something that was really interesting. He said, especially the sons of toil.
And the sons of toil.
Yes.
And he was very specific. And what he was trying to do, even during that first act, was to actually bring opportunity to the indigenous people and black people of America.
And for, just that patch of sons of toil, that was almost a dog whistle in 1862 of saying this is for indigenous and black folks as well. But obviously during that time and that era, to get this legislation passed, he couldn't say this is going to benefit black people as well. So he cleverly put in here the sons of toil, which I thought was just so fascinating that he would say that. And of course, the 1862 when it was actually passed. However, it wasn't until 1890 that second act came about to actually allow the formation of what we know now as historically black colleges and universities, specifically the ones that started with agriculture and mechanical. But it was just the fact of it took 18 years later that we actually got an invite or a seat at the table in order for us to do and expound on those same things from 1862.
Well, granted, it's so typical then as it is now, and what the wording goes in and the intent, but yet still what they choose to do and how they frame the policies that go with the legislation that was passed.
Sure.
A lot of times you hear the legislation is passed this way, but when it gets to the back room and the policies are then put in place,
the good old
and what's
smoke-filled back room,
then this is what happens. And they made sure they stayed within what the legislator put in place to a point, because they were established, and they was established all over the United States.
All right, and it was just the fact of, once again, when this is for us, it's not for us, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to me.
But, I mean, thank God for 18 years later, and we have that.
Well, he still had that intent, and he was still pushing, again, because of what he had lived through.
Hold that thought. Great conversation, more ag and culture. We'll return after this commercial. Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68-acre vegetable and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide training and technical assistance to small farmers and ranchers. The farm is open to the public every Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or visit us at the Mississippi Farmers Market located near the fairgrounds in February. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 3,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet. Hey, welcome back to the B Block of Ag and Culture. I'm LeGrand Elliott.
And I'm Cindy Ayers Elliott.
And this show is proudly sponsored by Heifer International. For over 75 years, Heifer International USA has partnered with communities and other organizations to support local farmers to build and grow sustainable businesses so they can earn a livable wage.
Livable, which is a key part of
Yes.
that.
Yes.
And we're talking about livable now.
Yes.
And livable wages and how important education is, because we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, with is historical black colleges and universities.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we want to hear from you guys. 1-800-492-5186. If you want to get on social media and interact with us, feel free to do that. Instagram, Footprint Farms, Facebook, Footprint Farms as well. We want to hear. I mean, we've got 19 illustrious agriculture mechanical schools around this great country.
We do. And the great part about this and talking about this, and I want to just I get excited about this because we're going to be talking about the very first institution that was instituted under 1890's. Do you know where that was? Absolutely. The Alcorn State University. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The very first land grant of the Morrill Act II was established right here in Mississippi, and it was and is still standing today, Alcorn State College, now Alcorn State University.
Right.
So we're very proud to take that distinction.
Absolutely.
And I want us to know here in Mississippi and around to understand how important our history is and how important this institution is then and now.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we have 19 historically black land grant colleges that are currently in the United States. And we want to hear from you guys, 800-492-5186. Did you attend one of these 19 or did you attend an HBCU? Did you attend an HBCU?
I did. I actually got to attend I love Jackson State University.
That's cool.
But you know, again, I wanted to attend Alcorn State University. I wanted to look at going into our black colleges, but then at that time, when it was time for me to attend college, something else was going on big in Mississippi then. It was happening, and it was Ayers versus the state of Mississippi.
Absolutely.
Because then we were looking at how and why our institutions was so lesser than the other institutions that were Mississippi under IHL. So,
have we made? I mean, obviously we made some significant progress, but sometimes significant is not enough.
It's not enough, and we still have so much to do.
Yeah.
But that's another show as well. But right now we're going to talk about it. We have to understand and be proud of who we are from the history, starting right now with Alcorn State University. And that's going to be the first one that we talk about. And again, there are others. There are the colleges and universities that educate and have created a whole mechanism way for black professionals in America.
Yes, and they've, in our 19 agriculture mechanical HBCUs have definitely produced some of the brightest and best when it comes to agricultural science. In almost in the world.
And that's the other part we want everybody who didn't attend to understand that when we talk about the sciences, it is science. It's about not just tilling the soil or what goes on in the soil, but it's all the science from biology to economics to understand everything it takes in order to fulfill the mission of being in an ag university.
And that's exactly correct, because with that, agriculture is STEM. A lot of times we kind of just defer that to the math and some of the science part, but agriculture, for all practical purposes, is a very robust STEM program that have direct pathways for students who are interested in careers or degrees in agriculture and or mechanical engineering.
And that's another reason that we want to talk about this, because when you think about our HBCUs and you think about in Mississippi, Alcorn State University, well, I don't want to go there because it's all just about agriculture. But if you want to research in science, it's there. If you're looking at mathematics and computer science, it's there, because it takes all of this. I always say this, LeGrand, that the United States Department of Agriculture, which is where a lot of our schools in 1890s worked to and from, and a lot of money comes through, is the second largest budget in agriculture in America.
Yeah, next to the Department of Defense.
Only to the Department of Defense.
All right. Yep,
so that should tell everyone how important agriculture is in this country, and still today in this country.
Yep. So, in your opinion, I think mine as well, that our 19 land grant colleges are still making a profound difference, and I guess too, how do we keep supporting them? How can we get more young folk and more young folk of color to get interested in agriculture, not just from a standpoint of people thinking it's just in the soil all the time, but all the other scientific things that go on with agriculture, from developing chemicals to developing seeds to developing fertilizers, and the research that goes along with that, to really instill and make sure that our parents are really taking a hard look at our HBCUs and what they have to offer.
Absolutely, all of our HBCUs. But again, when we start talking about where we are in this country, we still think that is better somewhere else. I'm not going to say they might not have better facilities, but when it comes down to the nourishment, and I mean not off the body but also off the minds, and to help to build the character.
Right.
And with our HBCUs, we take in and we bring in students who want to go, who never thought they would go to college or university, and still give them the necessary tools to survive and live into their fields to wherever they go.
And that's the disappointing thing, is that we produce all these folk, and just for example, you look at a Texas A&M, for example.
Yes.
And you look at one of our great 1890 land grants of, say, a FAMU, a Florida A&M. And when you look at it from scope and scale, we still can't be touched, because we can do so much with nothing. Why is it that it's such the disconnect, even in 2022, that these land grant colleges don't get a iota whiff of the amount of money that a land grant college like a Texas A&M? Why is it still so disproportionate?
Well, it goes back again to those magic words of policies and who's sitting at the table and what formula is being put in place. But then when you go locally and you go into the states, for us, IHL, the Institution of Higher Education, sits a lot of the policies in place, because they determine what degree programs are at our public universities. Alcorn just can't say we want to put a whole nother school of engineering there unless it goes through and is approved by, and then have money to fund through IHL. So it still goes back to the policies and the people sitting at the table.
But with IHL, obviously the pie has been sliced by the time it gets to IHL. But I was trying to dig deeper from the federal government, because they're the ones that's doling out this money to the Texas A&Ms, to these bigger, predominantly white land grant colleges and universities around the country, and it seems like we still don't get our fair share, and nobody is saying we want this for free or anything like that. We just want our just due. And what do we do going forward? I mean, we always say, well, contact your congressman and do this and do that. How can, at 2022, how can we evolve to just say, you know what? We want to make sure that our land grants, that our HBCUs are on equal footing. And I think Deion Sanders said it best. We're not looking for a leg up. We just want a fair shot. We just want a fair shake and on fair ground.
Well, then you got to go back and again, we got to look at our history. When they were designating these universities, they also designated so much land to go with that. Now, to look at our universities, we did not get the prime land or the same type of land, or even the resources to go with that, to go into it. We got to
absolutely. Hey, I appreciate you seeing that big old red thing.
We got a red thing here. That's what that's for.
Dr. Ayers, hold that thought right there. We're talking 1890s land grants colleges today on Ag and Culture. We want you to join the conversation. We'll be right back after our sponsors. Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68-acre vegetable and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide training and technical assistance to small farmers and ranchers. The farm is open to the public every Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or visit us at the Mississippi Farmers Market located near the fairgrounds in February. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 3,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet. Hey, welcome back to the C block of our show, Ag and Culture.
Is C for Cindy? No.
No, this is the third after the break.
Oh,
C
okay.
I'm kidding. We're back, Ag and Culture. Our proud title sponsor is Heifer International USA. For over 75 years, Heifer International USA have been partnering with communities and other organizations support local farmers and build and grow sustainable farming businesses throughout the world and the United States.
Thank you so much, Heifer, and to Pierre, who's their chairman and leader. Thank you again for all you do throughout this world, but especially for looking out for a state like us and looking at what we're getting ready to do for bringing information about Heifer as well as for agriculture products.
Sure. And like I said, again, we're so proud to have Heifer on board with us.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 1890s land-grant colleges and universities, our beloved HBCUs that specialize in agriculture and mechanical arts. Mm-hmm. There are 19 of them in the country. I learned to assume nothing, that everybody knows exactly where those 19 historically black colleges that are A&M schools are. Mm-hmm. So just give us a little glance and background and maybe some of the background on them, or who's the leadership of these universities?
Yeah, well, let's do that. Well, first of all, let's name them. If you got a map that's up there, you can see a lot of all of ours, all the colleges and universities. But for the land grants, if you go to the west, you're going to look at Langston University. Mm-hmm. Coming down further, you're going to look at Prairie View A&M University. That's right. Still going over from west to east to University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff.
UAPB.
UAPB.
The SWAC.
Going up to now Lincoln University.
Okay.
And then when you're coming down southwards from that, you're coming into Southern University and A&M College. And Southern, which is not a university system, but Southern is still a land grant.
So SU, the Jaguars, some of the Macs of the SWAC, they're actually an agriculture mechanical school.
Absolutely. And then you have the Alcorn State University. I should have saved that for last. I got some good points on that one. We're going to go over, continue up to TSU, Tennessee State University, to President Glenda Glover.
Shouts out to Dr. Glover. How are you?
Absolutely. Then go up to Kentucky State University. Keep going further up to the East Coast, Central State University, which is our newest destination for land grant within the last 4 or 5 years to be designated. They've been there for a long time.
So
but
what makes it? What makes a designation? What makes a HBCU part of the 1890s platform?
Well, it has to go back to being able to be accepted in through Congress as well as a format to become. Even though they've been doing this for a long time in ag, they were not a designated. With that, which also brings some other funds that will come through from what's put in place under the Morrell Act.
Right.
To do that.
So, and I was reading somewhere that Southern University was one of the first 1890s to actually have a really robust marijuana program.
Well, we're going to talk about that. It's one of the big pieces of research that they do.
And that's what I was saying from the research standpoint.
But we got to continue because we got to give everybody their props.
Absolutely.
We have West Virginia State University, North Carolina A&T State University.
You're talking about them folks that can't nobody from the SWAC beat.
Come on now. And then we have Fort Valley University, which is a great university that's out. And we go up further over to the coast. We're still going to our east for South Carolina State University. We have Virginia State University.
Another team that the SWAC can't beat.
Which we're going to talk about that, LeGrand. We have the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. On the University of Maryland system, that's a lot, but this is Eastern Shore.
Eastern Shore,
that's part of it. And then we also have Delaware State University. And I know I mentioned Florida A&M, that's down those Rattlers.
Absolutely.
That's coming into the south. And again, part of the
SWAC. That's right. And those are just good things to know. And I'm pretty sure if you guys, go out and just Google land grant 1890s, all this information is up there. And then the graphic that we actually have that we're showing, it has a mixture of the 1994, and that has to do with our Native American part of the agriculture part of it. You can expound on that a little bit?
Well, absolutely. Well, again, it goes back to different things changing. And finally, our Native American or our Sons of Toil were named, had their universities, and they went through the tribal to actually designate where they would be. And again, they have their system is set up just like under ours with other HBCUs, but it does have a distinction of itself on how their funding comes in.
So they would have their funding is more like it's traditionally anything that goes on a reservation. There's almost a special tribal type of funding that goes into that as well.
But you asked a question: what can we do, or what has been done?
Yeah.
Let me just say to you this, and it goes back to policy. The chairman of the House Education and Labor Committee now is our own Congressman Bobby Scott, who now chairs that. And see, the difference is now there's another seat at the table.
Right.
And the seat that they're sitting in is actually headed by one who also attended HBCU.
Right.
So it gives us more room at the table.
Right.
But in September 2021, all of our 1890s presidents, they come together, but they came together in D.C. And they actually went and they actually put some other things in place of asking for other things that should be put in place for our HBCUs.
Right.
The part of that that's so important that all of our presidents came in together. And if you go online, you can also pull up where they actually signed this letter, and it was talking about the things and representing the 19 HBCUs and the designation as land-grant institutions.
Right.
Some other programs and other monies that should come and will be coming to our 1890s.
Right. So that's kind of my next point is that we have the Honorable Bobby Scott heading this up.
Yes.
We right now we have a somewhat of a razor-thin margin in the House and the U.S. Senate.
Razor is the right word for that.
And we have a Democratic sitting president. So my question to you is this: if not now, then when? If not now, then when? If we are controlling this to a degree, and we're calling the shots now, and we may be in a small space in time with who knows what this next election cycle will bring us. If not now, then when, if we have all these tools at our disposal, that our 19 historically black universities get their just due, or even more. I don't even like the word adequate. To me, when you say adequate funding, that means bare minimum. I mean real tangible funding, so that if people want to get on the HBCU bandwagon now, which I'm glad that they are, don't get it twisted. I'm glad that we have brought through, not in education the way I would want it to be shined on, but it's through sports, and that's okay, that now that we are really, people are taking notice. So my point and what I'm saying is, and I go back to if not now, then when, that we need to get out of saying adequate and get into saying sustainable funding for our HBCUs.
Well, absolutely, and now is the time, and it's happening. A lot of legislation is being put in place for a lot of things to start moving in different directions. Also from the Ag Committee, looking at who makes up and who sits on the Ag Committee and those policies. I go back. Policies are so important.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons that we work very closely with the Small Farmers and Ranchers Policy Center that's housed at Alcorn State University.
And that's great. That was kind of where I was going to ready to lead you into. That is, can you just talk about that policy center and its 1890s as it relates to why it's there?
Absolutely.
And well, first of all, let me back up. What is it and what does it do first?
Well, what is it? Well, first let me say what it is. It was actually, again, because of great congressmen like John Lewis and so many others for the last 20 years have been trying to get some legislation in. And one of the things they finally got in was with the Farm Bill and actually creating. See, when you think about policy centers, every other type of universities have their own policy center.
Gotcha.
Or there's things in place for that, but it was not one for HBCUs.
Okay.
This way, we're housed at Alcorn State University, but we represent all of the 1890s, all 19, plus some other nonprofits,
Sure.
and being able to help put policies together. So we're utilizing our universities, our brain power. We have a lot there
Sure.
with our students and our faculties to actually look at existing policies that's in the Farm Bill and Ag,
Right.
and actually proposing changes, and changes with funding,
Right.
as well as changing with the type of policies that will put more opportunities
And more funding.
opportunities and
Yes.
funding to black universities and to black farmers and new farmers that's coming in. So this policy center is very important for other big CBOs, like the Federation of Southern Farmers.
When you said
Mississippi-
CBO, what's a CBO?
Community. These are community centers. These are community organizations.
Okay.
These are nonprofits, 501c3s.
Sure.
And the federations have been around for over 60 years. It's been a big anchor in black farmers and the black belt and everything else that's there.
So with this policy center, and it's not just for Alcorn. This is just so happen to be housed at Alcorn State University.
Well,
It's for research and policy all over the country.
All
right?
over the country, absolutely. It's for all over the country. Did I mention Tuskegee University? I think I didn't.
We can't. I mean, you didn't, and I was waiting on that. And I was going to kind of let you make it, and then I was going to bust you out towards the end of the show.
No, absolutely
that you
not.
Didn't, you left out one of the staples when I think of agriculture, HBCUs. Tuskegee is always the one that comes to mind.
Well, Tuskegee University, which is a great university, and Dr. Walter Hill, hello, Dr. Hill, that runs the ag area there, which is such a staple and a scholar of history. And right now we're working very closely. They're one of the universities that's actually doing a lot of research as relates to the policies for agriculture, as well as Alcorn University, peer review. So we're able to take what comes into the policy center and actually put that money, those funds, into our universities for research.
Yep.
And we can take that research back. So now you can talk about this is not fair.
Yep.
Now we can show you the numbers, and Congress can see what's there. And we actually take all that information to Congress.
Right. Wow, this 30-minute goes really fast, so we've been getting a lot of calls like, hey, y'all need an extra 30, so we're working on that. So that's going to be a wrap for the show for today. That 30 minutes does go really quick. Dr. Ayers, we're talking 1890s. We'll see you for episode 4 next week. You've been watching Ag and Culture. I'm LeGrand Elliott.
I'm Cindy Ayers Elliott.
And we have a brand new show called Ag and Culture. We'll be discussing all things agriculture.
But more specifically, how it affects farmers and ranchers of color with national and local guests.
And of course, we're talking culture, food, wine, health, politics, education, and so much more.
Join us for informative and fun conversation with guests from all over the country.
It's a fresh new show, Ag and Culture, every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. on the East, and 7 a.m. on the West.
Watch us on our YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms.
And on WeBelieve.global. Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68-acre vegetable and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide training and technical assistance to small farmers and ranchers. The farm is open to the public every Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or visit us at the Mississippi Farmers Market located near the fairgrounds in February. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 3,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet.